what's up, everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thank you for tuning in. We have Andy Shectman for our weekly show. Every Wednesday, we're going to do this little thing where we just shoot the stuff, talk silver. What's up, Andy? What's been going on?
Good to see you, my brother. What's going on? Geez, that's a crazy question. What's going on? In all the years I've done this, man, in all the years I've done this, 33 years, I've never seen a market that is unfolding quite the way that this one is. And most of it centering around supply. And, I have put myself out there for several years talking about an inevitability that I see in the marketplace, and that is a market that is defined by the outside. Now, guys like you who intimately know the inside will look at it differently. You'll look at it in a way that I'm going to explain in a moment. But the people on the outside, they'll look at it as, well, I missed out on the price. The price got away from me. I should have done it. And ultimately, that will happen. I think you'll see that accentuation in price, and that's coming. And there are a lot of reasons I believe that, mainly the positioning on COMEX and the draining of all the exchanges. But people like you and I will look at it differently. We will look at it as a market that is becoming very difficult to source product, maybe even a market that is defined by the inability to source product. And I've been saying that for a long time, catching a lot of heat for it. People claim I'm talking my book, just trying to get people to buy metal because they've been able to find it at other sites and whatnot. And yeah, we've been able to deliver it too, but I'm telling you, it is disappearing. And I've been saying this knowing that an eventuality would happen where more and more people would become interested in a market that is an island of safety in a sea of uncertainty and chaos. And as that progression happened, I could see just by how difficult it is to get product that this is not ending. And in fact, it's unlike anything I've ever seen, with the exception of 2008 when everything disappeared for half the year, the second half of the year, where the US, the Canadian, the South African, the Australian, the UK, all of the mints were sold out of product or anywhere from 16 to 18 week back ordered with premiums that were greater than 100%. $9 spot, $18 premium, or $18 total cost, 12-week delivery delay. That's the kind of market we saw once things finally opened back up towards the end of the year. But when I look at this right now, I see something very interesting. And I'll start with the retail side of things. And I'm going to back up and I'm going to show you what's happening at the top of the food chain on down. But I look at one of the biggest distributors in the world where I have an account in the world. And I'm not going to mention their name out of respect, but I will tell you they are one of the largest wholesalers in the world. And they are sold out of everything. In silver, they have 1,000-ounce bars, a limited amount of silver grain, which is like BBs or shot. They have 2023 UK Britannias that are coming in a few weeks, limit 5,000 per customer.
Yeah.
If you're a company like mine and all you're able to buy is 5,000, that's nothing. And then 2022 Silver Eagles limit 5,000 per customer at, $16 or whatever plus wholesale over spot. That's it on silver. I'm talking that is it. Everything else, 50 plus items, sold out, sold out, sold out, sold out, sold out, sold out. And in gold, it's the exact same thing. Everything is sold out with a couple of hodgepodge items you limit to 10 or points a person. I've never seen anything like this ever. And I'm very, very certain that this is going to be the trend leading into the last couple of months here in the year. Typically, we see this type of phenomenon after Thanksgiving, where the mints say, well, we're done issuing this current year, we're retooling for next year. So when we sell out of this, there's nothing until January. To see this at the beginning of October is extraordinary, where premiums continue to rise and supply is gone. And I don't take any joy in saying I was right. I've been trying to tell people this was coming.
Yep.
And this is with a tiny percentage of the public still invested in metals. And when they have that aha moment, and stumble across your work, what you've been doing, helping people, young and old, for a long time now, it'll be too late. It'll be too late because getting product will just be impossible. So whether or not this is a trend that is just beginning or things slow up, that's where we are right now. But if we take a look at perhaps what is making me think that we haven't seen the end of this yet, let's talk about the top of the food chain. In the past, well, since the end of April, so May, June, July, August, in the past 5 months, we've seen almost 530 tons of gold delivered off the two biggest Western markets in the world. That would be the London Metals Exchange and the COMEX. At the same time, all this metal is disappearing. The big Asian gold consumers like China, their imports have reached a 4-year high in August. So everything is being bled off the exchanges, coupled with Asian imports at their all-time high. I wonder where all this metal is going. Since silver squeeze a year ago, roughly, year and a half ago, over almost 115 million ounces have been drained off of the COMEX. When you realize that there's only 40 million ounces left in the registered category on COMEX, that those are the bars that can be delivered. So there's 3 times as much silver has been drained off of COMEX in the past year and a half than there is available on the exchange right now for trade. Who's taking all of these 1,000-ounce bars? And it's not just here in the West. I was reading a report that was published on Reuters, and most of it comes from MKS PAMP, P-A-M-P. They're a big refiner, and they provide a lot of gold and silver to the world. They came out and said that gold in Dubai, Istanbul, and off the Shanghai Gold Exchange are all trading at multi-year premiums. The premiums are higher than ever around the world in comparison to the London benchmark. Well, that's exactly what we're seeing here. And in India, the premiums on silver are 3 times what they normally are, meaning now you have governments buying silver, not just gold. And the Indian imports in silver has been huge. The moral of the story with all of this is that over the most of my career, when you could say it's just been peaches, cream, and hunky-dory in the U.S., everyone wanted U.S.-based assets and our bonds and our securities and whatnot. And the world wasn't aware of global inflation. The world wasn't aware of, 40-year high inflation and a war knocking on Europe's doorstep where nuclear threats are being bantered around. And I think we are entering a period of time, or we have entered a period of time rather, where there's a global awareness. You have gold at all-time highs in the United Kingdom, right? So what does that tell you about the inordinately stupid strength of the dollar? All-time highs in gold in the United Kingdom, but yet we're $300+ off here in the States because the dollar is ridiculously overvalued in the dollar index, yet at the same time it's losing value precipitously here in the States in a relative sense. What the dollar buys you here is of no reflection to the strength of it listed globally. So you have metals near or at all-time highs in other countries and in other currencies, yet here it's being distorted by the very strong dollar. And for the very first time, you have the world waking up to the Riesenstone precious metals. So all of this metal, like the Krugerrands and the Philharmonics and the Kangaroos and the Britannias, those used to just come flooding to North America, where the big purchasers were in comparison to the rest of the world. Now, not only is it becoming hard to get product, we're competing with all of the people in these countries where the mints are located. South Africa, Australia, Austria, the United Kingdom, all across the Atlantic. And these countries are affected, or more so, by what's happening around the globe than we are. You got Australia dollar collapsing. You got the UK problems with the bond market and interest rates. I mean, these people are aware for the first time, and now they're competing with us for the very small pool of products. So let's talk about price inflation. You've got more money chasing less stuff and lots more demand for it. You're seeing super high premiums that continue to move up globally, even at the top of the food chain. The big exchanges like the Shanghai Gold Exchange or the main exchanges in Istanbul or in India, not just the LME, not just the COMEX. So Honest to God, man, in all my career, with the exception of '08, when everything just disappeared like that, um, this is as bare as the shelves have ever been, and it's a struggle to keep product coming in. And we've done a good job of it, but it's getting harder and harder and harder. And look around at all the competition, you'll see exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, if you're having a hard time, I can't imagine. I mean, and like you said, you even said I hate to say I told you so. I hate to say I was right, but that's how I feel as well. People have been saying over the years I'm exaggerating or blah blah blah, and it's like I'm showing the numbers, I'm showing the data, I'm showing the information. Numbers don't lie. I've been talking about this over and over so many. That's my main conversation topic on my channel is the silver shortage. People think I'm just making this stuff up, or how many articles I said where these guys don't know and there's plenty of silver. It's like there's not. And now people are starting to wake up to it. Low supply, high demand pushes the price up. Maybe not spot price, but the premiums. Spot price is still being manipulated to some degree. So if the premiums are going to keep going up, I mean, and say, there, everything you said is spot on, man. That's all I've been really talking about lately, besides, a few other things that happened. But yeah, I mean, and if you're having a hard time, you were able to pull off 900,000 Eagles in 2 days, $50 million order.
Well, think about that. If one client was able to buy nearly 1 million ounces of silver, and there's only 40 million ounces left in the regular category on COMEX, which sets the price for the world, do you see a problem there? I sure as hell do. And we are witnessing the biggest money, in any game you've ever played. And I asked you once before, not too long ago, if you played sports as a young guy. And yeah, you ran track and field, you played soccer. Well, in any sport, track and field maybe not so much because it's individual, but any sport where you're playing against an opponent, from checkers to any sport, football, basketball, the art of misdirection is very relevant, where it's the no-look pass in basketball or the fake handoff in football and the whole line, everyone moves that way, but the one tight end who slips out over here, he's wide open in the flat. You misdirect your opponent through rhetoric, or in sports through just the design of the play. But in everything, it's about misdirection to achieve a goal. And that's exactly what we're seeing happen here, where the biggest money in the world has used the misdirection of the Western suppression of price to drain the shelves. Right now on the London Metals Exchange, the silver being held that is not already encumbered, like for ETFs as an example, is the lowest level it has ever been since they started recording inventory levels on the London Metals Exchange. You're seeing metal being bled off the exchanges on the COMEX at a rate we have never ever seen before, coupled with the commercial banks going long and setting up what is for a very bullish backdrop. And so I don't know what happens today or tomorrow, but like you said, the numbers don't lie. And when you talk about coming up with a formulation or a prognostication or a theory based upon mathematics and economics and a sprinkling of old school logic, in the end, you'll be right. It's just a matter of the variables that are added to that equation by the big money that doesn't ultimately change the outcome, but it can delay or mitigate the way that the outcome happens. And in the end, we have to pay the bill. Mother Nature and mathematics will catch you. And the continued suppression of interest rates originally, and of metals, and all of these markets, when you continually suppress them in an artificial manner like this, going against the grain in the respect that the global demand is growing. And when you suppress that demand, or suppress the price, whatever suppression you're doing, if it's not in the direction that the market is going, when it finally exerts itself like a beach ball that you push further and further and further down underwater, I mean, it shoots up like crazy when it finally does. And so I think the greater the suppression, the greater the manipulation, the greater the reaction or the opposite reaction. They say every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Well, that will happen with severity when this finally accentuates itself, because you have, not only do you have the whole world accumulating gold, you have things like the new Moscow price setting mechanism that's on the horizon that will, as the Russian finance minister puts it, attempt to put an end to the Western suppression and manipulation of the commodity markets. When all of the BRICS nations are joining together and pegging commodities to a new system, they're going to put a system over there that will accurately reflect commodity prices, which will create massive arbitrage from the Western manipulated system, which everything will move eastward. We're on the precipice of some very scary times, man. And you're not buying this stuff to get rich.
Right.
Get it through your head, people. You're buying this to get the hell out of the way of what is coming down the pike, which is a once in a lifetime change, a shift in Western financial dominance, I think. And that is going to lead to some very, very, let's just call it religious moments for people when this happens, who are woefully unprepared and have not taken the time to start to mitigate their exposure to dollar and dollar-based investments. And when they try to get into silver, that's when things, I think, get really difficult, because there's just not enough out there to provide metal for everyone who wants it.
Yeah. And by the way, if you did want to purchase silver, I recommend Miles Franklin. Andy Shectman is the CEO. All you got to do is send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Right now, they do have some specials. They have the 2022 silver Maple Leafs, only $7.25 over spot, and also the JBR Kilo bars for $3.50 over spot.
And I owe an apology to you and everyone else out there. When I was saying our website would be done in 2 weeks, it should have been done 2 months ago. And we have had nothing but a series of mishaps and setbacks. We're so close.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let it be released until it's perfect. We are really close to releasing it. So please have patience with us. It's coming. The email at info@milesfranklin saying the Slayer sent me or Silver Slayer sent me is really important. We'll send you an updated inventory. We'll answer your questions. We'll make it an experience. And, no more than a few more weeks. I just want to try to manage expectations. We will issue a brand new website that will have prices and the ability to purchase online, where you can type in milesfranklin.com/Silver Slayer, see specials that we have just for your audience and the whole 9 yards. So again, I'm sorry it's taken so long. It is happening, but it's been one of the most frustrating things I've ever dealt with as a business owner in 30 plus years of doing this.
Man, I bet. Yeah, the reviews that people have been sending me are incredible. Man, like I wish I could. Sometimes I'll screenshot and show you, like, the everyone that goes through you is extremely impressed. How professional. How it's awesome to be able to offer. And a lot of times, when I tell people, like, yeah, you guys have good deals and stuff, but it's not even about that. Just building a relationship with a company like you in general is an honor to be able to offer that to my audience, because that can go a long way.
And I think it means a lot, because where we're going, relationships are very important. And by the way, before I forget, I was so happy to see you were invited on Robert Kiyosaki's show. It's well deserved. You are doing an amazing job, and people out there should owe you a debt of gratitude. And I'm glad, just as it was a really wonderful moment for me to be invited on his show, I was thrilled to see you were. I guess you could say you got called up to the big leagues, and I know it went well, so I just wanted to wish you a congratulations on that. That's an awesome achievement for you.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was hoping he gave me an opportunity to speak about the bigger, almost like the macro. And it's funny because a couple days after, he actually tweeted about the macro and the micro, and Sarah emailed me and said, "Hey, you inspired Robert to tweet this," because he was talking about the micro, what you can see, and then the bigger things. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
No, it's awesome and well deserved. And the macro picture is what I focus on. The micro is very difficult, and it will drive you crazy if you stare at the rustling leaves instead of the forest itself, because we are everything is changing so rapidly. So I think it's important to see the big picture. And anyway, so I just wanted to wish you congratulations on that.
So all right. So this is one of the main things I wanted to bring up. Obviously, Congressman, I think Robert Mooney is his name. I think that's he. He's trying to get the gold, or he said a new. Okay, he said a new gold standard. I don't know if he means a new one, just because we'll have to set a new fixed price. Regardless, what do you think about that? I posted a poll on my channel. It has 372 votes. I said, do you think reverting to a gold standard is possible nowadays? 46% said yes. Out of 372, 30% said no, and then 24% said possibly, but changes would have to be made, which I think the third one, or no, I don't know. What do you think about that, reverting back to a gold standard?
His bill, I think it's HR 9157.
Yep.
I read it and I was impressed with that he actually put in there
Yeah, the six
that it's
decades.
lost 30% of its purchasing power the dollar has since 2000 and 97% since the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, all of which is very true. I think ultimately you will see gold pegged to a new system. And I have thought for a while it would start with the BRICS nations. They've already
Yeah,
come out and said they're going to issue a new world reserve currency and have it pegged to commodities. I
right.
say this because gold was reclassified by the Bank of International Settlements as the world's only other tier one reserve asset. Why the hell would they have done that? Why would they have pegged gold as a tier one after almost 80 years of it just being dollars and treasuries? And this explains to me why lots of the central banks are accumulating gold. Where I think there is a problem in what he is asking is what President de Gaulle of France exploited in 1970. In 1970, towards the end of the Vietnam War, President de Gaulle of France realized that we were printing more dollars than we claimed we had behind or gold backing it, and that was to finance the guns and butter and the Vietnam War, and so he called our bluff and he sent warships over to New York Harbor filled with dollars and said, give us the gold. And we did. And he bled down half of the gold held at the treasury, or nearly. And what he proved was that convertible currencies convert. So in any case, what better way to roll out a new distributed ledger technology currency than having all of these countries peg a commodity, whatever that commodity may be. Maybe for Saudi Arabia, who's expressed interest in joining BRICS, maybe it's oil they peg. But everything is pegged to a distributed ledger technology to show the immutability and the veracity of what it is that is being pegged. But I don't think it will be redeemable. In other words, they can show with proof and authenticity on a distributed ledger that, hey, it's pegged. But I think de Gaulle proved that convertible currencies will convert. So rather than making them convertible, as he is asking, I think they will still peg it, but it will not be convertible.
Right.
I had to guess, and I think that is
Same.
better than not pegging it at all, giving it some sort of a
Backing.
tether, if you will,
Yeah.
a governor to mitigate the ability of governments to print the way they have
Yes.
all the way back to Roman times, when the Roman government would clip around the edges of the coins and give the soldiers smaller coins because they were made of silver. And that's coincidentally why they make ridges on the edges
That's
of the
funny.
coins. So you can't do that anymore. So, but that's the point is simply this, that I think it is possible. I think this is one reason why gold was reclassified tier one, maybe the only reason, instead of special drawing rights from the IMF. Why gold? And also explains why you've seen such a voracious amount of drawdown off the world's exchanges, not only by the commercial banks and the family offices and the sovereign wealth funds, but mainly the central banks, who all want a seat at this new table.
Yeah, when I heard about that, the first thing I thought is everything you've been talking about, that digital currency backed by, commodities. I don't see my problem with that HR 95 or whatever it was. is that he also said that we have to expose the last 6 decades, 60 years of every transaction publicly with
Yeah,
gold and
that's
all
not
that.
happening.
Right. I was like, if he wouldn't have said that, I mean, that directly just made an enemy. And now they, that's a whole separate situation.
But he
But
also issued a bill maybe a year ago trying to remove all federal taxation of gold and silver, so no capital gains type of deal.
wow.
Where it's he's definitely an advocate for precious metals, and if nothing
Yeah.
else, is maybe shining a light on them. And you're seeing a lot of the states remove their taxation, like Tennessee just did it, and Ohio did it, where they're taxing precious metals. There's still a half a dozen states or so that do on a state level. But yeah, Mooney, I think he's in West Virginia. Here again, I'd love to buy the guy a beer. He's
Right.
fighting the fight, uphill battle at that, but I think
Yeah.
his heart is in the right
Yeah.
place. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was crazy. I couldn't see it being redeemable either. I mean, even though gold isn't scarce, I just couldn't see uh that being realistic, you know.
But I think you can achieve the veracity of it and make it authentic by showing the distributed ledger
Yeah,
holding of it. So
right.
if the immutability of the ledger allows you to see it there, and it's real, and it's
Yeah,
audited by the big three or whatever it may be, however it needs to be, where it's being held and not. I mean, I think it offers you a better plan than to just have
just
fiat
print.
currency. I
Yeah,
really do believe that a gold backing is coming, and whether it starts there and we do it as a reaction, I don't know, but I do think it will be part of the new system. Look, you can only screw people so many times before they say, shame on you. Now it's shame on me. Screw
hmm,
me once, shame on you. Screw me
right.
12 times, shame on me. And so I think people won't drink the Kool-Aid ever again if it's not tethered to some sort of prudence, if you will,
Yeah,
to the ability of governments to manipulate and print and manipulate the money supply. I just don't think it will
yeah.
happen.
I think it's more realistic if it wasn't redeemable. I do think that that's the only option we have. I used to tell people there is no solution. There's only an alternative, and the alternative is precious metals. We're trying to get ourselves out of debt by replacing it with more debt. That's like trying to pay off a credit card with a credit card.
Well, it's
Like,
interesting to say that. I read the most insane thing. What you just said just blew me away. So, I mean, I call this from the "we are broke" category. And this was based on data that was just released a few days ago. The federal government repaid, get this, $15.7 trillion worth of bonds in the most recent fiscal year. Now, how the hell do they do that?
right.
$15.7 trillion.
That's
And
half of what our entire. Jeez,
well,
that's
how
a.
can they do that? And the way they did it was by issuing more debt. And just like you said, it's like a government paying off its credit card debt by transferring the balance to another credit card.
Yeah,
So when the bonds mature and need to be repaid, the Treasury Department just issues more bonds. But here's where it gets crazy. Janet Yellen said that she doesn't want to issue bonds with longer maturities. So most of the bonds that are being issued are, under 10 year, 10, 5, 2, 1. In 2020, the interest rate on the 2-year bond was like 0.012%, or 0.012, like nothing, like less than a fifth of a percent. And now they're almost 4%. So the cost of financing this debt is growing exponentially. We are broke. We are an insolvent country, and we are getting, I think, rapidly to the end of the rope, where no one's going to want to buy our bonds anymore. Just like we saw what happened in the United Kingdom, where the government had to come in and buy the bonds to suppress rates to keep the pension program from blowing up. And we're not far away from a situation like that. If you realize you have to take out debt to pay the older debt, That's just insane. And the maturities are shorter and shorter and shorter, making these obligations huge in the coming years. And, I think we are rapidly approaching that moment where something breaks. And this is a good reason why.
Yeah, I was making a video about that. Making videos, silver stacking videos since 2015 on here. I'm always talking about stuff, but I swear right now something seems like it's for real about to happen more than ever. Just everything is just every week something else just happens, because you always see those channels that have I wouldn't call them like silver pumping doomsday type channel, almost unrealistic. I mean, I don't know. I try to be very realistic, so I'm not giving my audience false expectations or misleading. But right now, I could pretty confidently say, it really does seem like something is going to change, and I'm not just saying that. Um, but
Couldn't agree more. I
yeah,
cannot agree more. And I think it's on many different levels. I mean, you can look at, I've talked about with you and on a lot of the shows that I've been on, what makes the dollar the world reserve currency. And it's always been the protection of the Saudi kingdom. And by extension, OPEC's promise to sell oil globally in dollars. Well, again, from the stupidity category, you have House Democrats who have just issued a bill or introduced a bill to withdraw the U.S. air defense systems from Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. And, they cite the drastic cut in oil production despite President Biden's overtures as a hostile act against the United States and a clear signal that they've chosen, Saudi Arabia and OPEC has chosen to side with Russia and their war against the Ukraine. These are the Democrats from New Jersey, from Illinois, and from Pennsylvania. These guys are complete idiots, and they are hastening the demise of the dollar. They are hastening the announcement when OPEC stands on a stage. All of the 13 members who are already on the Belt Road, 6 of them are already in BRICS or have applied. The 7th, the UAE, who they want to pull the missiles from as well, has just joined the BRICS banks. They're all going to say to us, hey, thanks, but we've decided to open up oil sales and other currencies. And like that, it's over. The dollars get dumped globally. Interest rates spike. All of those dollars hit our shore. Inflation peaks, interest rates spike, and stocks, bonds, and real estate go to the moon or collapse because they're all inversely correlated to that moment. And whether or not you side with Saudi Arabia and you agree with their human rights and all of this stuff, this is not what it's about. It's about we are this close from losing the world reserve status, and what that will do, the unintended or maybe their intended consequences of that are going to be extraordinary. And if you watched, there's a new commercial out there with Snoop Dogg, and guy says to him, "Did you like my rap?" And he says something like, "It was incredible, Lee bad." And that's what's going to happen. It's going to be extraordinary, Lee bad. When that happens, when we lose the world reserve status, and all of the countries who have had to hold dollars for the past 50 years to buy oil no longer need to do that, those dollars come home. And when those dollars hit the shore here, if you think inflation is bad now, just watch. And then when that
oh my,
happens, interest
oh,
rates go to the moon. Everything collapses. And so when you talk about things speeding up and things happening that just shouldn't happen, well, this is certainly one of them. And it's just another sign. You kick Russia out of SWIFT and you make every country in the BRICS nations and on the Belt Road say, are we next? Are they going to sanction us? Are they going to take our money? Are they going to kick us out of SWIFT? And you have brought all of these countries to the table over this type of behavior. And the glue that holds it all together is the pegging of commodities to a new system, which they just came out and said. Then the Russian finance minister said the new world reserve currency that will be issued by the BRICS nations will be a grouping of local currencies, meaning all of the BRICS countries, along with commodities that are pegged to the new system. And they continue to invite new countries to this endeavor. Recently, Algeria, Argentina, Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, Kazakhstan, Senegal, Uzbekistan, Cambodia, Ethiopia, Fiji, Malaysia, Thailand. The list goes on and on. You're talking the majority of human population all joining this group, all going to peg commodities to a new system, and the incentivizing to antagonize Saudi Arabia worse than things already are, and call a reduction in oil production as a hostile act against the United States. I mean, give me a break. As I talk about, imagine it was the other way around. When we talk about hypocrisy, and if that's hostile, answer me this. If we were Russia and Mexico was the Ukraine, and that country over there, which is, Russia, but they were the ones who controlled SWIFT. If Russia kicked us out of SWIFT, if Russia sanctioned all of our assets, froze everything, took our yachts and all of that kind of stuff that we've done, provided $90 billion to Mexico, sent them Stinger missiles and drones and the intelligence on where to drop the bombs after they froze all of our money. Is that not a hostile act? Is that not a declaration of frickin' war? Well, it is to me, and I'm surprised. If it were the other way around, you'd have everyone in this country beating the war drums. And the point of it is the hypocrisy that we have, where we can say that OPEC is not going to produce as much oil after we're going around telling the world we're going green, completely green. What the hell do they need from us then? They'll sell their oil to all their new friends in the BRICS who represent 90% of human population that use a combustion engine. So it's all happening, and this is why you need to own gold and silver. And as trite as this sounds, and as talking my book as this sounds, I swear to God, neither are true. It doesn't matter what the price is right now, because the West is still controlling the game until they don't any longer. And when that happens, it's like flipping a switch on or off. From light to dark will be what you will see. That big of a change in the whole spectrum of assets and asset values and just personal values in terms of what is and what isn't important. So I don't know. I can go off on these tangents, but here's the deal. Things are spinning much faster than they've ever been. And whether it be economic, moral, social, you see people getting the shit beat out of them in the subway, women getting punched. I mean, what kind of world are we living in when you see this stuff day after day after day? People getting shot every day. I mean, things are spinning out of control way faster than I've ever seen in my 52 years on this planet. And it's not just here, it's everywhere. And the actions of our government are only exacerbating, accentuating, and speeding the hell up the demise of the Western system. And I wonder, to this day, is it intended? Is it the controlled demolition? Is it the reset that Klaus Schwab talks about? Maybe it is, because if we lose the world reserve status and those dollars hit this shore as fast as I think they will, and everything that makes people feel rich in this country, stocks, bonds, real estate, and the dollar all collapse simultaneously, maybe it was all intended as a way to blow things up and find a villain.
Right. And make it not look like it's our fault almost.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I'll never forget when Federal Chairman Jerome Powell mentioned probably 6 months ago that he could see a currency coexisting or even replacing the dollar.
There's room for more than one world reserve currency. He said that's just his way of acquiescing to what is coming. Absolutely. And when you saw Biden go to Saudi Arabia, it wasn't to ask him for more oil. It was to beg him not to join BRICS, not to leave the dollar as the central oil, the central currency to which oil is valued in through OPEC. So I don't know. I think the handwriting is on the wall, and people are focused on the wrong things. Right? They're focused on the Fed. They're focused on gender equality. They're focused on all of this nonsense. And instead, the biggest event in all of our lifetimes is unfolding, and that is a transition of power from the West to the rest of the world. And if you look at the countries that comprise the West, the European Union, Japan, the US and Canada were all insolvent and broke, and the rest of the countries that are forming this alliance are the ones with all the commodities. And the visceral dislike, borderline hatred of the West and the Western hypocrisy, and the glue is the commodities. Gold being a tier one reserve asset, the only other one in the world, that is the glue that is going to hold all of this together. And you know the old saying, my enemy's enemy is my friend. You're seeing countries align in this group that have hated each other for centuries, because removing the Western hegemony, I think, is more important to them than anything.
Anything. Makes sense. Wow. Wow. Man, it's been a great conversation. I think this is one of our best yet. You know, everything we talked about is so relevant, and man, I appreciate that we're able to do this every week. I think we could wrap it up here. I think it's a good stopping point. But yeah, man, I don't even know. I love when you talk because you break it down in so many like layers, that makes you reflect and think. And I couldn't agree more. You just know how to say it better. But but yeah, guys, if you did want to buy from Miles Franklin, send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know Silver Slayer sent you. Andy would love to hear it. They got some deals going on. What is it? The 2022 Maples at 750 over spot, and then
Yep.
the kilo bars for 350 over
725 on the maple,
725.
350 on the kilos, and
Okay.
we'll keep getting more product in. Give us a shot. We'll make it worth your listeners' while. And I just appreciate being here and part of what you're doing. And I'll look forward to catching back up with you next week, Wednesday.
Yep.
In the meantime, you stay well.
Yep. Every Wednesday. All right. Well, I'll talk to you later. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon.